Judge Caldwell, you are named 114 times in Epstein's files.
That is a baseless smear. The evidence is clear.
A sitting federal judge just got exposed 114 times in Jeffrey Epstein's secret files, and the Vice President of the United States just named him. Not in a leak, not in a rumor, but in an official public disclosure that's now tearing through Washington like a political wildfire. Judge Caldwell isn't some minor official. He's ruled on cases that shaped American lives for decades. But now he's at the heart of what may be the most explosive corruption scandal in judicial history. And the real question? How long have the elites known, and why were they protecting him? We'll come back to the leaked meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell in a moment, but first, understand this. The database that just surfaced isn't hearsay. It's not some anonymous drop on a fringe forum. It's real, it's documented, and it's been verified by federal sources. Inside are thousands of records, emails, calendars, transaction logs, all showing who interacted with Epstein, when, and how often. And smack in the middle, Judge Caldwell, 114 times, communications, scheduling entries, payment codes, and worse. This isn't about guilt by association. This is about provable contact with a convicted trafficker who ran one of the most well-documented exploitation networks in modern history. And if that wasn't enough to rattle the system, here's what flips the table entirely. The FBI had this database for years, so did the DOJ, and they did nothing. No investigation, no suspension, no accountability. Until JD Vance detonated the silence. Now let's break this down, because this isn't a one-day headline. This is the kind of story that gets buried, because if it doesn't, careers collapse. According to Vice President Vance, the database was recovered from a combination of Epstein's seized devices, cloud backups, and physical records obtained during the 2019 raids. The contents were so extensive, federal analysts spent years compiling a structured map of connections, not just names, but relationships, timelines, and intent. Judge Caldwell didn't appear once by accident. He appeared 114 times across 4 distinct categories: direct communications, scheduling invitations, financial entries, and what analysts call leverage indicators. That last one, it's code for blackmail. Let's start with the communications. Caldwell is referenced in email threads with Epstein's staff, including his notorious scheduler. These aren't one-off notes. They span years. One entry from 2008, during Epstein's infamous Florida plea deal, tags Caldwell with the phrase legal coordination. What kind of coordination was a federal judge doing with a trafficker's legal team? That's not normal. That's not procedural. That's complicity. Then come the events. Caldwell is listed in multiple planning files for weekends at Epstein's properties, including the infamous Manhattan townhouse and the Caribbean retreat. Was he there? That's unclear. But when you appear on a guest list more than once, someone wanted you there. Next, financial logs. These are coded entries, believed to reference disbursements, expenses, or transfers. Caldwell's name shows up next to more than one. If he received anything, money, gifts, travel, it's a felony, plain and simple. And then there's the darkest file, the leverage folder. This is where Epstein allegedly stored blackmail material. Code names, image references, scanned notes. Caldwell has entries here too. Investigators say these may correspond to recordings or compromising documents. If true, that alone justifies a criminal probe. But here's the twist no one saw coming. The vice president didn't stop at revealing entries. He read one, out loud, from the podium, a 2010 entry. It reads, Caldwell confirmed for weekend. Legal discussion, WGM. GM being Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner. Now serving 20 years for trafficking, a federal judge, meeting with a trafficker's associate to discuss legal strategy after Epstein's plea deal was already in place. Let that sink in. This wasn't speculation. This wasn't a journalist's hunch. It was a sitting vice president putting it on record. You could hear the silence hit the press room like a wave. Reporters froze. Some didn't even tweet because they understood the gravity. Most people think this is about one judge. It's not. It's about an entire ecosystem of power that protected itself. Caldwell is simply the first name dragged into the light. There are more. And the slow drip strategy, naming one at a time, is designed to keep the system sweating. So why should you care? Because every ruling this judge made now has a shadow hanging over it. Civil liberties, corporate cases, criminal appeals. How many people were sentenced under his gavel? How many walked free because of a nod and a wink? Legal scholars are already sounding the alarm. Professor Alan Rothberg of Georgetown Law said, "This obliterates the standard for judicial recusal. Every case Caldwell touched is now tainted. Defense attorneys are preparing motions to reopen closed cases. Prosecutors are scrambling to identify convictions at risk. It's judicial chaos, and it's just starting. But that's just the legal fallout. The political shockwaves, even bigger. Judge Caldwell was appointed during the Bush administration, but his tenure spanned both parties. Cases under Obama, under Trump, under Biden. He was a known quantity, trusted, protected, which raises one terrifying question. How many people knew and stayed quiet? Because remember, this database didn't just fall from the sky. The DOJ had it. The FBI had it. For years. No leaks, no reports, no investigation, until now. Which means someone, somewhere, made a conscious choice to keep this buried. This is us versus them. They protected their own. You were never supposed to see this. You were never supposed to question the rulings. And now that it's out, they're scrambling to control the narrative. Already, anonymous sources are pushing back. Caldwell deserves the presumption of innocence. These entries are just data points. Nonsense. These aren't footnotes. They're footprints. And they lead straight to the truth. This isn't even the first time America has seen powerful judges tangled in elite scandals. In the 2000s, 2 Pennsylvania judges were convicted in the Kids for Cash scandal, literally sending kids to private prisons in exchange for kickbacks. It happened, it was proven, and it was treated as an isolated blip. The system said, move along. But the Epstein network proves that was a lie. This wasn't isolated. This was systemic, a network of mutual silence, shared benefits, and absolute control. Epstein's operation was more than trafficking. It was leverage on the powerful, the judges, the politicians, the bankers. And that's why Vance's move is so dangerous to them, because transparency is a weapon when the guilty thought the records were sealed forever. Let's talk precedent. Federal judges have lifetime appointments for a reason, to shield them from political pressure. But that was never meant to shield them from criminal consequences. Caldwell's case forces a reckoning. Where does judicial independence end and criminal accountability begin? Already, the House Judiciary Committee is preparing to subpoena the full database. Impeachment proceedings are being whispered behind closed doors. And legal commentators say this could trigger the biggest judicial review since Watergate. But there's a deeper implication, and it's one you're not supposed to ask. If Judge Caldwell's name appears 113 times, who appears more? Because Vance hinted there are more names. Big ones. Some still in office, some on ballots, some controlling policy. And by releasing this name first, the administration sends a message. Cooperate now or get exposed later. This is a chess move, not a tweet. And if you think this is about taking down one judge, you're missing the play. The goal isn't scandal. It's pressure. Pressure on insiders to flip, to spill, to panic. It's the classic RICO strategy. Start with provable links. Squeeze. Climb the ladder. Legal analysts believe RICO charges could be next. Epstein's operation meets every criteria. Enterprise, pattern of conduct, interstate elements, and corruption. And if that happens, Judge Caldwell might not be the only one facing prison time. He might just be the opening act. Already, attorneys across the country are reviewing their case history, looking for Caldwell's name, looking for anomalies, because no lawyer wants to be the last one defending a tainted conviction. No politician wants to be the one who defended Epstein's judge. And here's where it gets brutal. Judge Caldwell is still active, still presiding, still ruling on federal cases. That means, as of this moment, he's still shaping American law, even as investigators pore over 114 entries that could end his career, or worse. How did it get this far? How did no one stop it sooner? That's the question that haunts this entire scandal, because it wasn't just one man's secret. It was a system of silence, a culture of cover-ups. And now, the curtain is falling. Let's talk about impact. This scandal doesn't just affect one courtroom, it affects thousands. If Caldwell's rulings are challenged, the system could be paralyzed, hearings delayed, convictions overturned, cases reopened, victims re-traumatized, accused left in limbo. The ripple effect is massive, and the political stakes? Even higher. Already, Democrats are split. Some want immediate removal, others want caution. Republicans? Unified, for now. But as more names drop, expect panic. Because when this level of rot is exposed, loyalty fractures fast. And then there's the media. Notice something? Most legacy outlets are whispering, if they mention it at all, because this story doesn't fit their narrative. It implicates too many, on both sides. So they downplay, they ignore, they spin. But the public isn't buying it. Views are exploding, searches are spiking, people want the truth, and they know where to find it. Not from legacy media, from you, from creators, from platforms that don't take orders. So what happens next? Here's the roadmap. Congressional subpoenas drop. Caldwell's rulings come under legal assault. RICO investigation into the Epstein network begins. More names are leaked, strategically and deliberately. The system faces its most serious credibility test in decades. And there's one more shoe left to drop. The surveillance files. Sources say Epstein's properties were wired. Cameras, recordings, timestamps. If those tapes surface and match the database, it's game over. This story isn't over. It's just getting started. And the people who buried it for years, they're finally out of time.